Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Thursday, May 7, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The GOP's war on Black America continues. Tennessee Republican Governor Bill Lee signs into law the new map that wipes out the Black district in Memphis. We'll talk with a number of folks, including State Representative Justin Jones, who burned a Confederate flag in the state capitol. We have lots to talk about. We'll also talk with leaders in Alabama. Republicans are trying to do the same. What we're seeing is the rise of the Confederacy. Again, former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa will be here to discuss his run for California governor. Also, we'll feature another candidate running for Georgia's Supreme Court. Lots to break down as we lay out this Republican war on Black America. Folks, it is time for us to be engaged. It's time for us to understand that this is a declaration of war on Black people. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, moments ago, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee actually signed into law the new map in Tennessee, wiping out the longtime Black congressional district there in the city of Memphis. They have split Shelby County into 3 separate congressional districts, Nashville into 4 districts. We're going to be talking with State Representative Justin Jones. It was an absolute pandemonium on the floor as lawmakers protested vigorously against these white conservative Republicans doing the bidding of Donald Trump, just wiping out Black political power. That's what's going on. Republicans in Alabama voted today to redraw the state's congressional map despite the fact that voting for this year's midterms has already begun. The state is still awaiting word from the Supreme Court on whether the redistricting can move forward, but under the plan passed today, the state would revert to a 2023 map that would imperil the seats of both Alabama's Black members of Congress, Congressman Shamari Figurs and Congresswoman Terry Sewell. The move targeted the state's 2 Black district is just the latest effort by Republicans to, again, destroy Black political power since the Supreme Court ruled weakening the Voting Rights Act. Joining us right now, folks, to talk about this here, Alabama State Representative Kelvin Datcher. Glad to have you here, Representative Datcher. Listen, the protests have been taking place in Alabama, in Tennessee, in Florida, in many places. And the bottom line here is what we're looking at is this is white conservative Republicans wanting to destroy Black power. We're talking about Alabama. That is the home of the battle for voting rights. You think about Bloody Sunday. We talk about Selma. We think about what happened in Birmingham, also was called Birmingham. Black people shed blood for this right to vote and for representation. And these white conservative Republicans want to destroy all of that. This is absolutely the rise of the Confederacy 2.0.
Well, Roland, I mean, pretty much you're encapsulated everything for us. Right now, we know that, while the immediate target is District 2, which Representative Shamari Figurs now occupies, the lieutenant governor and others have been just transparent. They've said, we want all 7 seats. They have said it. They have been intentional about communicating that to everyone else. This is not even, they're not even trying to hide their, throw a rock and hide their hands. This is their plan, their strategy to dilute Black voting power in the South. And they're, Alabama's ground zero for it and has been for a very long time. You perfectly captured what happened in the Alabama legislature. And so, we've got a couple days, we got 1 day left tomorrow, and they're going to force the repeal. That would be a what if kind of situation, because it only comes into the play if the Supreme Court grants an emergency injunction relieving the state of Alabama from an agreement they made to not challenge these districts until 2030. But they're going ahead with it anyway. The governor called us into special session on Friday. We had to be there on Monday. And, we've had hundreds, if not thousands of Alabamians showing up at the Alabama State Capitol to make their voices heard, to let them know this is not American. This is not democracy.
And what is shameful here is that this same Supreme Court ruled to create the second that second district. The same court.
They did. And as a matter of fact, Justice Alito specifically said in the Louisiana versus Calais case that the Alabama ruling is not overturned. It is not overturned. Still, our governors called us in a special session so that these maps could be in place just in case the Supreme Court changes their mind from what they did just, less than a week ago. So it's really a kind of and it is abuse of power. It is an overreach by Republicans in this state to go after Black voting power. It is not a Republican on Democrat attack. It is an attack against Black voting power in the state of Alabama.
And it's no different than what's happening in Tennessee.
No, sir. And so, Alabama's been a testing ground for a very long time for everything from Project 2025 to other strategies that the far right has tried to employ across America. And it's sad because when you walk down the halls from my office to the chambers, you'll see pictures of every set of legislators that have represented the state of Alabama, the legislature. And so you'll see these pictures, and through the years, they got whiter and eventually got a few more women and eventually got a few more African Americans. It is as if this legislature and this governor wants our pictures to look not like 2026, but instead like 1963.
Absolutely. That's exactly what is going on here. And we're seeing this play out over and over and over again. And I'm telling you, I have been saying to Black people, this is a declaration of war. What we should see is the largest Black voter mobilization effort since the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965, as well as since the presidential election of Obama in 2008. The only way to battle this, the only way to beat them is to destroy them, crush them at the ballot box. We must overwhelm the ballot box. That means not 65% or 70% of eligible Black voter turnout. No, it needs to be 80, 85, 90, 95%. They must feel the wrath of Black voters at the ballot box.
We are fortunate in Alabama that we have tremendous minority leaders in the Senate with Bobby Singleton, and in the House with Anthony Daniels. And today, Leader Daniels talked about that. There are between 600 and 800,000 registered Black voters in the state who do not vote. So we're not even talking about unregistered voters. We're talking about folks who are on the rolls who can just show up and cast that vote and send a message to Montgomery and to D.C. that we are going to fight for our voting rights in the state of Alabama. And so we've already started. We started talking about that today. We have a primary on May 19th that one of the bills would actually throw out votes that have already been cast via absentee for the May 19th primary. And then in November, we got to make it happen. We've got to make it happen, man. I know we turn out folks for the Magic City Classic at the end of the month in October, but the next week is even more important. Our folks have to show up at the primary, at the general election in November. It has to happen. That is the only way we can make our voices heard.
Again, the thing that I've made perfectly clear, this is not a moment to play games. This is not a moment to sit here, just be all outside, dance and doing those things. We need to understand what they are doing right now is they want to destroy Black political power for the next 1 to 2 generations. This is no different than what Southern racist Dixiecrats did after Reconstruction when they could not stand Black political power. Same thing is happening right now, and people need to understand it's not going to stop at congressional seats. It's going to then go to state Senate seats, state rep seats, county commissioners, judicial seat, city council, school board. These people will not slow down. They must be stopped.
They will make cities like Birmingham metropolitan. They're going to go try to make it a metropolitan governance to dilute that African American power of folks like our great mayor Randall Woodfin here in Birmingham, and what we're calling on every African American institution, the Black Church, Divine Nine, HBCUs, Eastern Stars, everybody we gotta come together. We don't have a choice. This is a seminal moment for African Americans in terms of our democratic voice, in terms of our electoral power. We have to come together. And I'll tell you this too. One thing that's been reassuring is that we have seen white allies show up here when we had a bus take off from Birmingham going to Montgomery on Monday. White folks showing up, supporting us at the State House. That is the ultimate challenge, Roland, is to have Black voters work with working class white folks to send a message to D.C. about that we have these same opportunities and values that we share amongst those two groups. They want to divide us and keep us separate, so we cannot have the kind of impact that we want to have, but we will not be deterred. We are determined, and we are going to fight all the way to the end.
Well, we're going to need those white allies to wake the hell up, to register their people, talk to their folks. And again, what I have been saying is every single week in every city, in every southern state, there should be a citizenship training class, teaching people, informing, educating them, enlightening them about what's going on. Because again, these people are not going to stop. They are angry with the success of Black people in the last 60 years. They are pissed off with what happened after the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, with Black Lives Matter, and I laid out my book, White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. This is the moment for this generation to rise up and stand up. And so that's what really is at stake. Will this generation have the audacity and the guts and the gall than the previous generation who we often celebrate?
Well, I mean, if you look back at the 60s right here in Birmingham, we had folks like Tall Paul and Shelley the Playboy on the radio sending messages to get us organized. We have all the tools at our hands, man.
Yep.
Everybody got it in their hands. We can get directly to everybody, send a message, communicate back and forth, track where folks are. We can know folks that voted that day. If they've not voted that day, send them a message. Hey, text me if you need a ride. Text me if your mama needs somebody to pick her up. We have all the tools in our hands. We don't have any excuses anymore. We are motivated. They have shown us, that, hey, they're going to do whatever they need to do, because it is simply about power. It's not about what's fair anymore. It is about we want more. And so they have made that decision. And right now in the state of Alabama, it's playing out right in front of our eyes. And our elders are calling us to do what they did.
Indeed, indeed. Representative Kelvin Datcher, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Keep up the fight in Alabama.
Thank you, Roland.
Folks, shortly we're going to be talking with Representative Justin Jones of Tennessee about what he has been involved in. Folks, it has been a crazy day in Tennessee, massive protests that have been going on there as well. People going to the state capitol, expressing their displeasure. I want to bring in my panel right now, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University out of Washington, D.C., Cameron Trimble, CEO, Hip Politics Media, former White House senior advisor out of D.C., Zabora G., DEIA consultant and employment specialist, will be joining us shortly from D.C. as well. Greg, I want to start with you. This here is a photo that took place, someone shot today in Tennessee. This was the Sergeant at Arms blocking State Representative Justin Pearson from entering a committee about redrawing maps for the district he represents. This is Bull Connor. This is the thugs that we saw in the 60s with their fire hoses, with their dogs as well. And again, I'll say this here, Greg, and I ain't got a problem saying it. Okay, Black radio, syndicated radio shows, I don't care whether we're talking Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, D.L. Hughley, Breakfast Club, Dee McGuire, Erica Campbell, all these shows. This is no time for gossip and games. This is a mobilization time. This is an actual declaration of war. This is a call to arms.
It is, Roland. You've been sounding this alarm for a long time. I've protested when I was student body president of Tennessee State. We've marched those halls and protested. I respect, I admire that hillbilly who was blocking Representative Pearson. I embrace him because it's going to take that to wake us from our lethargy, from the decline in voter participation. And we will break their political backs when we get involved. What do you say all the time? When we vote our numbers, we win.
Yep.
Alabama is anywhere from a quarter to a third Black. That includes the number of registered voters, over 1.3 million people in Alabama of African descent. We don't need all the white people. We don't need a majority of the white people. We probably don't even need a third of the white people. If everybody gets off the bench and gets into the game, we will break the back of the white nationalist party in the state of Alabama, my mama's home state. And Representative Datcher is absolutely correct. We saw it happen in Nashville, my hometown.
Yep.
When they call it metropolitan, they put in the front of it, these hillbillies hate they hate state government and federal government until they're not in control. There's a very simple solution to this, and I'm actually very optimistic. You talked about Karl Rove. You know what Karl Rove said the other day about Louisiana, that black people should embrace it. I'm with him. Karl Rove's a white supremacist. He's also very bright, and he's also very devious, and I agree with him 100%. If we vote our numbers, these hillbillies would have dummy-mandered, because when you split up our districts, we've got to go somewhere.
Yep.
This is going to probably, it's also going to wake up the black elected officials who've gotten a little comfortable thinking that somehow how you look represents our interests.
Yep.
If you got a district where you've shoved 10 or 15% more black people in it, you got to talk to us if we show up and vote. So I think this is the beginning of a glorious moment in this country where we break the back of white supremacy by ignoring the idea that we somehow have the same objectives as these hillbillies. There are open enemies, and they're open enemies of our common humanity. There is no United States of America. There's white supremacy and its enemies. That's the redrawing of the map. I embrace it. I'm here for it, Roland.
Cameron, bottom line is when I look at the numbers, when I look at millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha, they're bigger than baby boomers in Gen X, and they gonna have to rise up. When you look at the voting numbers, 18 to 35, lowest turnout folks. They better understand that what these folks are doing, they want to control the politics for that generation for the next 50 to 100 years.
Yes, Roland, and this is a seminal time in our history, in our current and in where we are currently with voting. So many people have been trying to reach and like, how do I get young voters to turn out? Well, first of all, as you mentioned, it's both millennial and Gen Z. Millennials are now in their mid-30s, so they're no longer young. They're having their own families. They're starting their job and their careers. And this is an opportunity for us to engage them daily. What gives me pause and what makes it, while we have a great opportunity, as Dr. Carr says, and we should embrace it, we are in a different time than in the 60s and 70s. We've been satiated. It's been the mass distraction that is social media, that is pop culture, that is reality TV. So many different things are pulling us away from what's really right in front of us. And what I challenge, not just elected officials, but organizations with the parents and our grandparents and everyone's generation, is not to admonish this next generation, but to encourage to encourage, educate, and mobilize. And whether you've got to convince them, whether you got to bribe them and say, hey, I'll help you out with one thing or another if I make sure you go out and register and make sure you go out and exercise your vote, or you drag them to the polls. Those numbers look good on paper, but we have to do a job across the board. I love what you said earlier about making sure we get some of this syndicated radio, make sure we're getting all of our content creators, talkers. People really need to be on this, because we are now in a place where our phones, all these different things that can distract us daily, can kind of lull us to sleep. And also, the last thing I would say is you're doing such a great job of talking about this every single day, but mass media has moved on from this. Mass media and mainstream media is consistently suppressing this conversation. So we can't look there to hope that, oh, everybody just knows what's happening. This is a all-out effort from our entire community to ensure that we all vote.
Well, I don't waste my time with the hell mass media is doing because they don't give a damn about black people anyway. I want to go to my next guest right now. State Representative Justin Pearson joins us right now. We also are joined by Representative Parkinson. Glad to have both of you here. Representative Pearson, glad to get you here. I showed that photo earlier. You went face-to-face with state troopers and others there today. There were protests taking place. People were on the floor. Now you have that racist Speaker of the House who now is saying, oh, they may now put sanctions on people who protested on this floor. Guys, roll the video. There were protesting happening all in the state capitol. People were outside. People were making it clear. Also, Representative Pearson, this just saying the NAACP has already filed their lawsuit against Tennessee as a result of the actions of Governor Bill Lee signing this bill into law.
These maps are racist to
Representative Pearson. Come on. Representative Pearson, go ahead.
Yeah, what we're dealing with right now is white supremacy at its zenith. They are literally rigging and stealing elections and stealing congressional seats because they cannot win otherwise at the behest of the president after the Calif decision of the Supreme Court. And he decided to tell our governor and a lady who's running for governor that they need to steal our only majority black district in the entire state, which is in Memphis and Shelby County, where I currently serve as a state representative and where I'm also running to serve in the U.S. Congress for District 9. These things are not incidental or accidental. They've been building up to it over a long period of time, whether it be Shelby County v. Holder, where they gutted Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, to now gutting Section 2, where we were able to use the courts as a way to ensure that our representation, our voices weren't being taken away systematically. And now, surgically, they have cut our district into 3, proportionally, nearly to the percentage of 33% of black folks in each of those districts, in order to dilute our voice, to dilute our vote, and to take away our political power. And you mentioned this, but over the next several months and couple of years, we are going to see the largest purge of black people in elected office since the end of Reconstruction. Because right now, they're coming for congressional districts, but next they will be coming for our state house seats and our state senate seats. And let me talk particularly about the South here. In the South in particular, there are 12 to 20 U.S. congressional seats that we might be on the verge of losing. There are 200 state house and state senate seats that we will likely lose due to the response and the white lash by white supremacists who are in these positions of power. And so, yes, we must vote, and also we must build power that sustains us for the long haul and share a vision for our country, share a vision for the South where there's healthcare access, there's opportunity in education, there isn't environmental racism and degradation, and that black folks who are in positions of power, that we use these positions, not just to push yes and no on buttons, but to build power in the communities where we are serving. But this is the fight of our life, and everyone has to be engaged in it.
Representative Parkinson, listen, do all members of the black legislature now realize what's going on? I know you've had folks, back and forth, and some folks like, hey, how do we deal with the other side? But Republicans have made it perfectly clear they don't give a damn about a single black voice in the legislature, and they damn sure don't give a damn about a white Democratic voice there.
Today was actually a remarkable day. Today we saw unification from not just all of the black members of the Tennessee Black Caucus, but also the other members of the Democratic Caucus, our white members as well. On both sides, both in the House, both in the Senate, everyone, did their thing and did it to the max and really, really showed out and showed a force of unity that I hadn't seen in a long time.
All right, so what's next? I mean, listen, I think, frankly, you can't take it lying down. I think it has to be maximum pressure and shut the state capitol down. I mean, to a grinding halt. It cannot be, from this point forth, it cannot be business as usual in the state capital of Tennessee.
I agree.
That's exactly right.
Are you going to say no to my
No. Parkinson, you go first. I got another question for Pearson. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I think what we're seeing is these white folks have deployed the nuclear option. And I think what we're seeing also is the response to the ever-changing landscape of America and the desperation that is coming from these individuals to keep themselves in power. And so it is almost like you putting a cat in a corner when you're trying to give a cat a bath and they're scratching and clawing, to get away from you. And I think that is what we're seeing. And just as they pulled the nuclear option, it is important for us to pull the nuclear option as well. And that's why today I mentioned and talked about succeeding. We need to start having that conversation about secession from the state of Tennessee. We are in an abusive relationship with the state of Tennessee when it comes to Memphis, Tennessee. And so how long do we stay in that abusive relationship before we get the hell out of it? And I think that there should be some real conversation and some real resources that are put forth so that we can start having, some type of strategy or plan to get our asses out of this abusive relationship with these white folks.
Representative Pearson, you, of course, were challenging Congressman Steve Cohen for that seat that's there in Memphis. Now, with this action here, that wipes it out. Are you now recalibrating? Are you now looking at one of those? Shelby County is now split into 3 districts. Are you now looking at running for one of those 3?
So first of all, we are definitely still running for Congress. We are really grateful to the NAACP, Kristen Clark and Derek Johnson there for the emergency lawsuit that they filed. But I also am going to be filing a lawsuit pretty soon here once the governor signs this paper as a plaintiff, because this is unfair. We've spent millions of dollars into this race to serve District 9 in the way it was constructed. And our constituents of 750,000 people had an anticipation of what was going to be on their ballot, and that was taken from them. So we're going to fight tooth and nail for the district to remain the way that it is. And also, I'm still running for Congress, and we're going to make sure that the issues of economic opportunity, making sure we expand access to health care, make sure that we invest in our veterans, protect our environment and the gun violence epidemic, become and still remain the top issues across the state of Tennessee. Whether you're in a rural area, whether you're in a suburban area, whether you're in a more urban area, those are the things that people want. They want a life that's more affordable. They want more access to opportunity, and they're tired of billionaires stealing from working class people.
Well, I think it's time for black football players to tell University of Tennessee, thanks but no thanks. I mean, this is where everything is on the table. And if it is business as usual, Representative Pearson, these folks are going to continue to screw us. These white lawmakers in Tennessee must feel the pain. They must feel the economic pain. And the people who stand with them must feel the economic pain as well. It was Dr. King who gave that sermon on April 3rd, 1968 at Mason Temple in Memphis, talking about the need to redistribute the pain, having economic withdrawal. And so it's abundantly clear what they're doing. They do not care. And so they are going to do whatever they want to do. And if we are responding like it's business as usual, well, then that's basically consent. And this is also where I keep saying, every week in every city in Tennessee, there should be citizenship training classes taking place. There should be mass voter mobilization taking place, because the only way to stop these people is to crush them at the ballot box. Representative Pearson, you first.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. This is not a business as usual moment. Our organization, mobilization, and activation has to be real. It has to be succinct and has to be coordinated. We saw this week really what that's supposed to look like, from Memphis for All, Tennessee for All, Organized Tennessee, the Equity Alliance, all of the state legislators, Turk votes. No, I'm going to forget several, but we are working collaboratively to determine how we continue to build power moving forward on the C3 side and on the C4 side, because this is not business as usual. This is the moment, the inflection point in our democracy. And if we don't build power, if we don't register voters, but also if we don't turn voters out, because we always register people, but we have to make sure they actually get to the polls, then we are going to continue to see our vote be taken for granted and not have the effect that we needed to have at the state level, at the local level in these mayoral races. And I do also agree that for we who are currently serving in these positions, we can't go into session thinking the same way we thought in the past. I think there has been way too much capitulation, way too much silence, way too much, aiming for bipartisanship, when in effect, what we have ended up doing is giving away our leverage to fight against some of these racist attacks in our community and on our communities. And so, yeah, this is not business as usual. We got to help also our brothers, sisters, and siblings in Mississippi, Alabama, all the other places where we're likely to see this happen. And we have one of our senator sisters standing on her desk holding an entire sheet that said, no Jim Crow 2.0, every senator protesting in the front of the Senate, every House member in the front of the House protesting. This is the moment that is required. Nobody can be on the sidelines. And if you're in these positions, you need to say something and do something. Every mayor should be at their state capitol defending their seats. Every county mayor, every city mayor, the silence and the press releases, that's over with. And the congressmen whose districts are going to be impacted should also be protesting when these folks are trying to take these seats away. Not just coming to the committee hearings. You need to be at the protest. You need to be at the rally, defending and fighting for our democracy as people are fighting for you to be able to serve, particularly black members of the Congressional Black Caucus whose seats are being taken away. This is not a time for praying and just hoping that things are going to get better. You've got to be actively engaged with an organization that is resisting the tyranny of white supremacy in our nation right now.
Representative Parker, any final comment?
Yeah, I want to make sure that everyone understands this, how ironic this is that, Memphis is the biggest contributor to the state coffers when it comes to tax dollars and tax resources. And to see them, us being abused basically by this Tennessee legislature when we actually subsidize the majority, probably 80% of their districts in these rural areas because they're broke, they're poor. And that's why I keep on coming back to this. If Memphis and Nashville were to leave the state of Tennessee, it would probably be one of the wealthiest Democratic states in the Union. And Tennessee would be one of the poorest, probably poorer than West Virginia. And so I'm saying this, we should move in that nuclear option also, understanding our position in the state and how much money we generate for the state. And we should use that economic leverage to ensure that we are treated properly. I agree with my colleague, Justin Pearson, that everybody should be involved, but we need everybody in their gift in different places in the movement. Everyone is not going to be on the lines protesting. Some people will be strategizing. Some people will be fundraising. Some people will be contributing funds, and so we need to utilize and leverage everyone in the capacity that we are able to utilize them in. But it should be all hands on deck.
Representative Parkinson, I appreciate it. Representative Justin Pearson, I appreciate it as well. Thanks a lot. Thank you. We're going to be joining in a second by Representative Justin Jones. Roll a video where he was burning a Confederate flag. They were in the Capitol. First of all, they were in the Capitol today, and this is what he did. He had this Confederate flag and decided to torch it. Come on, pull audio up, guys. Thank you. So, right, but pull the audio up, I'll talk over it. So what you see right here, and you see folks cheering, and you see, of course, these Tennessee state troopers. There also was an altercation between Representative Justin Pearson and one of these Tennessee state troopers when they were being escorted out and words were exchanged. Do y'all have that video? Y'all got the video, Justin? No, the video, Justin Pearson, and the confrontation with Tennessee, not his speech, the confrontation with Tennessee state trooper. Do you have that video? All right, so again, folks, you had protests that were going on. This right here, y'all, is some of the video right here. Go to my iPad. Come on.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Ted. You stupid mother.
A lot of anger that was going on there, and again, the reaction all justified by what is taking place. Joining us right now, Tennessee State Representative Justin Jones. Representative Jones, glad to have you here. Again, today is a day that will live in infamy. This is the rise of the Confederacy 2.0. And that's exactly what, that was a time, of course, during that period where you had radical Republicans who were fighting Southern Dixiecrats who wanted to keep black folks in slavery, and they were passing various bills. Now what you have are Republicans in 2026 who are standing with those Southern Dixiecrats in the 1800s to deprive African Americans of power. I posted this on my social media. I mentioned it yesterday. This here is a poster from Nate Parker's The Birth of a Nation, where the American flag is a noose around his neck. And what I said in social media is very simple. What these Republicans are doing, they want to choke black political power. They want to suppress it. They want to get rid of it. And that's exactly what is happening right now in Tennessee, in Alabama, in Mississippi. It's already happened in Texas. It's happening in Florida. They're not going to do it right now, but they probably will do it in 2028 in South Carolina. And the only response that we can give is a massive voter mobilization to take these people out at the ballot box.
I mean, that's exactly it, Brother Roland. You know, I walked in today in 2026, and I walked out of this Capitol in pre-1965. We are in a battle, in a war against folks who want to take us backwards in history. Today, we saw the Capitol Klan rally. You know, they've taken off their white hoods, but yet they still have the same agenda. The Grand Wizard, Speaker Cameron Sexton, Governor Bill Lee, who want to bring us back to a time where black folks had no political representation, bring us back to a time when we had crosses burned in their yard for simply trying to exercise our democratic rights. And so this is racial terror. It's not about political tit for tat as they want to make it. It's about racial control, racial subjugation. It's about saying that you black folks are not worthy of being treated as equal members in our democracy. And we saw what happened today was that we cannot just sit around and be quiet, that history will judge us not by what we don't do, but by how bold we act, by the moral clarity we bring to this moment, by the boldness we bring to this moment. And so I burned that Confederate flag because we need to burn down the system of Jim Crow and the new Confederacy that they're trying to bring about, not just in Tennessee, but in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. They have a Southern strategy. We have to have our own Southern defense strategy to say that if they come for one of us, they're coming for all of us. And we need to disrupt business as usual. We need to be bold. We need to be unapologetic. We don't need to be here trying to make friends with these white racists, talking about we want to have kumbaya and be decorum. They didn't have decorum today when they spit on the graves of our martyrs like Jimmy Lee Jackson, and our martyrs like those three young men, Andrew Cheney Goodman, who were killed during Freedom Summer. They didn't have any decorum when they were spitting on the graves of those who endured days in jail cells and nights of bomb threats trying to register to vote and spit on the Voting Rights Act, the crown jewel of the civil rights movement. So why would we have decorum when this white supremacist rally was telling all of us that we're basically the N-word in Tennessee and that we don't have any rights that the white man has to respect? That's what they told us today.
And like I say, and let me be real, I'll go ahead and say it. Some of your black colleagues have been trashing you and Representative Pearson the last few years, saying that y'all were doing too much, that y'all should be playing the go along to get along game. I wonder what those same black folks in the Tennessee legislature are saying right now after what happened today.
I mean, it's interesting that people played political games with folks who looked them in their face today and said, you don't deserve representation. You know, these same folks who they call friend came to the Capitol today and took away the voice of the only black majority district in the state. And so now we must recognize with moral clarity that we must not confuse proximity to power, getting invited to the governor's house, getting invited to go play golf with these Republicans, with actually building power for our communities. You know, even with the strategy that we saw during this special session, there was some timidity. But I think what we must lean into is we must lean into the reality that we are in a battle, that our children are going to look at how we fight in this moment, and we have to fight. You know, I think so many people are going to wake up one day and say, how do we end up in a system? You know, it's not new for us. Between the end of the 1800s and the 1960s, there were no black representatives in the South. After we had, you know, Reconstruction, there was a time where they all were eliminated, and we will get back to that time if we don't fight right now. That is not an alarmist mentality. That is the realistic trajectory of where we're headed in America right now, that we will not have multiracial democracy in the South. But they are trying to build a confederacy, and I burn that flag because we beat these fools before. We beat these you know, vile racists before, and we must fight them now with everything we have. And it's going to be in this Capitol building, but now it's also going to be in the streets. It's going to be going across the South, because what they're counting on is the fact that Tennessee is the lowest state for voter turnout. So that's what they're hoping. And I hope that just like after the Dred Scott decision, Frederick Douglass said, let that decision not, you know, depress us, but let it inflame our resistance and rebellion. Let it embolden us to fight even harder and with more, you know, vitality against the sin that is slavery in this nation. And so I hope that people feel that fire, because there's only two ways that change comes about, Roland. Either people see the light or they feel the fire. And they did not see the light today, so it's time for them to feel the fire of our movement and of our power. And we need to burn down this new Confederacy and build something new that is rooted in human rights and human dignity and multiracial democracy.
There's a lot to work to do, and a bottom line is, I've said it point blank, this is a war. They have declared war. And we must respond accordingly to this. Real quick, if I can get quick questions from my panel, I've got my next guest who is waiting. I need quick questions from my panel. Cameron, go.
Yes, Representative, in Tennessee, what are our efforts, and what are the most immediate efforts that you want to make sure that all folks know, not just black folks, everybody around the country, if we're not in Tennessee, how we can be supportive of this movement?
Yeah. I think the first thing that we must tell the nation is that, and at this moment, it is crystal clear that the South is the front line of our democracy, and so we need to invest here. So many people are like, "Why don't you all just leave the South?" Do they not realize that the majority of Black folks in this nation live in the South, and that we can build political power here if there's investment from these national orgs, not just once every blue moon, but if there's consistent infrastructure building. And so in Tennessee, we have the lowest voter turnout. 1 in 5 Black Tennesseans cannot vote because of felony disenfranchisement. There are tactics that we must do to expand the franchise. These new maps are counting on people not turning out. They're counting on this depressingly low voter turnout. So how do we beat them at their own game and combat that by having the most massive voter registration, mobilization, and empowerment drive that we've seen since 1964 with Freedom Summer. We need to have a Freedom Summer here in Tennessee, and so we need support. We need resources here. We're not a swing state, quote unquote, but we need to show them that we're going to be a state that will swing back on you if you kick us when we're down. We will hit back and we will fight back with everything we have, and that's what we have to do in this moment.
Greg?
Thank you, Roland. Thank you, Representative Pearson. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Du Bois's 1946 speech at Columbia, South Carolina, Behold the Land, where he said the future of our race is in the South. With that in mind, how long before this overreach becomes a dummy mander? In other words, if we were to vote our numbers in Tennessee, would this strategy backfire, splitting Memphis into 3 districts, splitting Nashville, my hometown, into 4? If we turned out in those gerrymandered districts, in your estimation, what would happen in terms of the political contests in those gerrymandered districts if we voted our numbers?
Looking at the political leanings of these new districts, I think the lowest political Republican district is a +20 Republican district. And so they're counting on folks not turning out. They're counting on folks not using their power. I think if we turned out in numbers that were unexpected, like we saw in 2008, where you had a 51% youth voter turnout, the largest Black voter turnout we've seen it in a generation, I think it would send shockwaves, and that it would, counteract this attempt to have a power grab and rig the maps. I think we have to out-organize them, and I think that there is a way to do that if we are strategic and work together. But we must challenge this divide and conquer strategy. This is the time for us to come together as a movement to pull our resources to have folks who have that legal strategy, but also who have that mobilization strategy here on the ground. And I think that we can counteract it. I hope that we see this not just in Tennessee, though. We need a Southern solidarity strategy. I was just on a phone call with folks in Louisiana. We need to be connected with folks in Alabama. And how do we coordinate amongst the South and say that you have a Southern strategy, but we also have a Southern strategy? And ours is one that is about multiracial democracy and about challenging the terror of white supremacy. And so I think that's what we have to look at doing, and it's going to have to be multi-generational too. We have amazing elders who've been in this work. I was just been in touch with Ms. Diane Nash, one of my elders, and we need to have this intergenerational conversation about what we do in this moment and how do we pull together that wisdom with the urgency and the energy that some of these newer groups are bringing in this moment.
Representative Justin Jones, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, brother.
All right, folks, let's talk about what's happening in California. They have a gubernatorial race taking place there. It is a jungle primary, meaning the top 2 folks who get the most votes go on to the general election. There was a debate the other night, and one of the leading candidates, a Republican, is an admitted member of the Oath Keepers. Yeah, that came up during the debate when he was challenged by former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. Roll it.
My hand, sorry, change.
You're an Oath Keeper. We all know that.
And I'm very proud of it.
No, well, you should.
I'm very proud of it. And guess what? You're going to swear an oath, and you swore an oath. You should know what you were swearing and be proud of defending it.
I don't think an Oath Keeper is qualified to be governor.
I don't think you know what an Oath Keeper is.
Let me answer the question. I said, if an undocumented person committed murder, they should be held accountable. They should go to jail. And you keep on saying that sanctuary prevents violent criminals from being turned over.
I said it prevents criminals.
Fact, as I said earlier.
I said it prevents criminals. Don't lie for me.
In fact, as I said earlier, thousands have been turned over since 2019.
Obviously not enough.
Steve Hilton, let me be clear. I know you're recently arrived to California, but if you've read the Bay Area Institute, the UC Merced study, immigrants, if we took them all out, including the undocumented, it would be a $274 billion hit to the California
Sheriff Bianco,
economy.
just to follow up on what you were just saying there, and you said you're a proud Oath Keeper. Are you referring to the group
I've sworn an oath 3 times to defend my Constitution.
Taking an oath as
yes,
your
and
job.
everybody that wants to, like, again, lie and emotionally get all spun up about the Oath Keeper organization, I just would, before you do that, and I know none of you have, I want you to go read the mission statement of the Oath Keeper mission statement and the
I saw them on
ACLU.
CNN attacking the Capitol.
And the ACLU. I saw a politician molesting kids. Does that mean you molest kids?
What?
Exactly. Don't pull those stupid statements out and expect to not be called out.
But Sheriff Bianco,
you
just
have
to be
no
clear,
reason to.
There is
you're
absolutely
not qualified to be governor of California.
I am extremely proud of swearing an oath to defend my Constitution against politicians like this.
The Oath Keepers, first of all, joining us right now is Antonio Villaraigosa. Mayor, the Oath Keepers, far right-wing extremist group, anti-government. So you got somebody running for governor who is proud to be a part of an anti-government organization that's also racist.
The sheriff of Riverside County, who can't say that these people attacked the Capitol, they beat up cops, some died, and he's proud to be an Oath Keeper.
And not only that, the leader of the Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes, somebody who was convicted, who Trump pardoned. He was convicted of sedition. Is he saying that he's proud to be associated with that person?
Clearly, Roland. Look, and by the way, let me just say something to the House of Representative member Justin Jones. I love the young leadership, new generation of leadership. Everything he said made a lot of sense to me. I hope that people listen to him. I've said for a while now, I'm running for governor at a time when Donald Trump represents the biggest threat to our democracy. These immigration raids are a brutal example of that. We need to use the ballot box and the courts, but we need to build a movement, and Justin was right about that. I'm here today because there's a Civil Rights Act and a Voting Rights Act that gave me the opportunity to break a couple of glass ceilings now, Roland. You've heard me say that before. And we've got to protect our voting rights. We got to protect our democracy against extremists. And yes, Sheriff Bianco is an extremist. He represents the worst of what we've seen in our body politic. People that think it's okay to attack the Capitol after they lose an election. A party that can't say that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, and one that can't question anything he does, whether it's the war in Iran or these nasty, ugly raids or the voting rights challenges that are happening with gerrymandering across the South and the nation.
Let's talk about this race. Obviously, there are a number of people involved. Former Congressman Eric Swalwell, he dropped out of this race. And when we look at polling data, it is all over the place. And what it is showing is that you have, of course, a lot of different polls showing either Steve Hilton, Republican, this sheriff here, but you also have on the Democratic side, polling at the top, Becerra as well as Tom Steyer. Then, of course, you have yourself running. You have former Congresswoman Katie Porter. A lot of people are saying, hey, more Democrats need to drop out because this is potentially could allow 2 Republicans to be in the top spot, freezing Democrats out. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, 2 or 3 already have. That's one. 2, look, we saw in the last Senate race, the U.S. Senate race, it was 1 Republican and 1 Democrat. We saw that in the last governor's race as well. There will be a Republican in this race. They all vote, party, vote for their tribe. That Republican looks like it's going to be Hilton, but it could be either one. And there will be a Democrat in this race. The fact is, there's not going to be 2 Republicans. The chance of that is, the experts have said, is somewhere around 8% or so. It's not likely. There's actually more of a likelihood that it could be 2 Democrats, but I do think it'll be a Republican and a Democrat. And I do know this, 26% of the electorate is undecided. They're almost all Democrats, a good portion of them from Los Angeles, and, you know, Latino and of color. And so that's my base historically, both Latino and African American. And so I've said, you know, we're going to see this through, at least until we have a better idea about where that undecided vote is going.
The issue you have, though, is that the primary is June 2nd. One Survey USA poll has you at 5%. You got a lot of ground to make up. Again, polling is not voting. What are you going to do? What is your campaign going to do to pick up another 10, 15% to put you in the top 2 positions?
Well, first of all, it's not just what the campaign's going to do to put me in the position. Look, I've said for some time now, this issue of affordability is real. And it's particularly, we're the 4th largest economy in the world with the highest poverty rate, along with Louisiana in the United States. The fact is that that affordability issue is disproportionately hurting Latinos and African Americans in this state. And what I've said is it's Sacramento policies that got us here. Just wrong-headed policies that had made it impossible to build homes, impossible to invest in infrastructure. You know, gas prices, the highest in the country, $2 a gallon higher than the rest of the country. Effect of moving the party to a smarter place. You know, we're 25% Republican, 40% voted for the most right-wing guy that we've ever had in the White House, and 48% said they're open to a Republican last November, a Republican candidate for governor. So what I've said is we've got to get our house in order. We got to speak truth to power. And, you know, my candidacy has had that effect. But look, at some point, we'll make a decision. We're not making that decision today, but I can. I'm the only one in this race that came out of the civil rights movement that understands that we've got to win working families again. We're losing them in big numbers, and we can't just be a party of affluent white people that have, you know, a college education. What I said when Democrats were saying that the economy was doing well and that inflation's down, I said, you know, people don't understand the difference between the cost of living and but they know this: they can't afford rent, they can't afford gas, and they can't buy a home anymore. And so I think we've got to speak to those issues. I have, and have been willing to challenge even my friends.
All right. Antonio Villaraigosa, glad to have you on the show. I certainly appreciate you joining us. Good luck for the remainder of this campaign.
Roland, it's always heard that I could be on the show. I said, I had something else, but I wanted to be on the show.
I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
We'll go to my panel right now. Let me start with you, Zabora, and that is this. Listen, this is a crowded race. And when you talk about folks who are running, again, you've got you know, 2 Republicans who are at the top there, Steve Hilton, but you've got Tom Steyer, you've got Villaraigosa, you've got Katie Porter, you've got Xavier Becerra, you've got Tony Thurmond, you've got Matt Mahan, and so those Democrats are splitting up the Democrat vote. And I mean, you would think in a blue state like California, you would have 2 Democrat candidates at the top. Something's going to have to give. Some more folks are going to have to drop out.
of these different Democrats is splitting the vote, and they're not thinking about the needs of the community. You know, listening to him, I'm like, okay, you understand that affordability is the issue, but you've had an opportunity to impact those things. What are we going to do? How do you really get the message to the people that really care about it? How do we get people out of their homes and out to vote for the primaries? That's super important. We can't just keep looking at it like we're going to focus on these things that we've always done, and those things are not working today. Politics are different today. People are young, people have families, people are trying to survive, and you have to think about what are their needs and how do we really meet their needs and get them out from their homes to vote. And if they're not educated, or if you're not coming into the communities and really showing what's the real plan, we've heard enough talk from the politicians. We have enough of you doing the political thing, and y'all can't even agree as a party, like who needs to drop out and who should stay, so that we can really make this successful. It's like we can't be arrogant and think just because this is a Democratic place that you're going to win anyway. No, these are people with real needs. Affordability is an issue. However, my everyday life, how I get to work, how I take care of my family, those things are important to me. And if your policies are not matching that, I don't know where we stand if you have all these people running and they are kind of going at each other instead of really coming together and coming up with a plan that really impacts the people in the community.
Greg, look, there's a lot of candidates also running on the Democratic side for governor of Georgia. But in California, it's different. It's a jungle primary. And yeah, I think over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be some folks going to make a serious decision whether they continue. Bottom line is this here. If you're polling below 10%, you have no shot being in the top. It's going to be difficult for Villaraigosa, for Mahan, even Katie Porter. Listen, she was leading this race until that video of her yelling at a staffer came out. She's still trying to rebound from that. And you got a lot of Democrats who are moving towards Xavier Becerra, the former Secretary of Health and Human Services under President Joe Biden.
Yes, sir. And I think Becerra is the Democratic frontrunner. Probably will be one of the two people. We'll see if the billionaire Steyer can buy his way into the top two. We know what happens near the end. This is when we're seeing it here in the District of Columbia with the flood of advertisements for the mayor's race here in the district. The bombardment will now come. The White Nationalist Party has its Representative Hilton, a Fox News commentator, which is, of course, qualifies him for the racists in California who will turn out. The objective is to keep him out of the top two. Certainly, Mayor Villaraigosa would be a solid choice. As you say, he unless something really untoward happens, he's not going to be in the top two. As far as I've seen in terms of the polls I've looked at, doesn't look like anybody's cracking a fifth of the people polled, some 18 to 20% for front runners. Although, as you say, we've seen this with Secretary Becerra. He has now begun to perhaps surge over 20%, as high as 24% in some pieces I've seen. But finally, the implosion of the Katie Porter polling numbers speaks to a very difficult thing that we have to wrestle with in this country. And that is the vapid decision-making process for too many voters in this country. Yelling at staffers, sure, that's an issue. But if affordability is an issue, how in the hell does that become an issue that causes your numbers to crater unless you're living in an idiocracy? We have to be serious now. This is a theme that throughout this show, as you've talked to representatives from Alabama and Tennessee. It's time to be smart. That is a disturbing thing for us to send shockwaves for. But I'd be surprised if Becerra does not emerge in the jungle primary. But we've got to be careful because California is a wild card. After all, they did put a damn movie actor in as the governor of the state not too long ago. And so anything I think can happen in the state.
And then you got an idiot reality, a failed reality star running for mayor and leading in some ways for mayor of Los Angeles. It shows to go you how crazy this is. Cameron?
Yeah, we have to be careful because California is our last stronghold. Our biggest stronghold is the Democratic Party, just given its size and opportunity, and especially as what we just talked about in the previous segment of the rapid reshaping and what I really think is the illegal redistricting across this country by Republican legislature that California gives us an opportunity to do that and win some of those seats back. But if we don't have a Democratic governor, that's off the table. And then who knows how far that puts us back. So I'm really hoping that both, not just the voters of Californians, but that all of those folks that are running really look in the mirror, really look at the polls, really look at their opportunity, and do the right thing. And everybody claims this is it's bigger than themselves, and they're doing this for not only for Californians, but for the country. Then some of those folks do need to drop out, and also need to be asked, what is their plan to utilize California, and if they're going to be able to redraw those maps in California?
Folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to show you what Representative Justin Pearson had to say today on the floor of the House in Tennessee. We'll show you more of that. Also, at the bottom of the hour, we'll talk with a candidate who is running for one of 2 Supreme Court seats in Georgia. No incumbent has lost an election in Georgia in 100 years. They also have this weird quirk where if you resign from office, it cancels the election, which is sheer stupidity, Georgia. And so we're talking to her as well. Lots more to break down. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, folks. Support the work that we do. It's really important that you do that because, again, what we're doing, no, guys, not yet. What we're doing is stuff that other people are not doing. And that's critically important. When you talk about this coverage, and y'all know, I don't waste time with no gossip stuff. I'm not dealing with any of that nonsense. It means nothing to me. It serves no value as far as I'm concerned. And what we're trying to do is keep our folks focused on what's going on, giving you the critical information that you need in order to make the important decisions. And we are not just hyping this thing up. We are deadly serious that the attacks that we are under, and we've been saying this, y'all, on this show. We've been saying this, and I love all these other people talking about, well, you know, we got black media and what black media is doing. Well, it's a lot of folk. It's a lot of folk who are with shows who are not talking about the real serious stuff. And when we talk about what's going on here, it's real serious stuff. I want to thank Lorraine. She is on our YouTube chat. She just posted this. She said, Roland has the best political show online. Roland gives us real black media news. Guys, thank you. We're moving too slow in the control room. We need y'all to move faster. Roland has been alerting us what is happening in our voting world. He has not been wrong about it. Black voters stand up and fight. I appreciate Lorraine and her $20 contribution. Y'all, this is what we're talking about, okay? The work that we do here. And we're not just going to be sitting behind this desk. We want to hit the road. We want to go to Tennessee and Georgia and Mississippi and Florida and Alabama and Texas. We want to be on the road in the fall, in this summer. I am telling you, this is Freedom Summer 2026. That's what's going on. So your support is critically important to what we do. And so, do me a favor. If you want to contribute to our Bring It Fuck fan club, we've got 47,000 people who've donated to our since we launched this show. Let's get 50,000. Let's get 3,000 more folks. You want to contribute via Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you are listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com for that Stripe link. You can click the Cash App button to contribute. That's also for credit cards, checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
This is Bill Duke, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
Folks, as I said earlier, shortly after Tennessee Governor Bill Lee signed these new maps into law that wiped out the majority black congressional district there in Memphis, the Tennessee Conference of the NAACP filed this lawsuit against the state of Mississippi. They were seeking an emergency petition for declaratory judgment and injunctive relief. What you'll see right here, they're suing against the state of Tennessee, the governor, the General Assembly, as well regarding this, and said their attorneys, Isaac Connor, Chude Ekchetebu, Van Turner, Kristen Clark, Maisha Brayton, Anthony Ashton, and it lays out exactly what the purpose of the lawsuit is. And earlier today, Representative Justin Pearson, who we talked to the last hour, gave a powerful speech on the floor of the Tennessee legislature. This is what he had to say.
Minutes. These maps are racist tools of white supremacy at the behest of the most powerful white supremacist in the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. Memphis is the most beautiful place on the planet. It's the place that raised me, my brothers, my parents, my grandmothers, and where my ancestors' bones rest. And what you are doing today is eviscerating the only black majority congressional district in our state because we are majority black. We are here because this Republican Party has to seek to steal elections and seats because the president and the party have refused to address the pain, the suffering, and the struggling of everyday Tennesseans. This is about attacking, targeting, and cracking District 9 into pieces for more political and racial dominance and white supremacy in the state of Tennessee. And we need to realize that the Calais decision that you all are basing your decisions off of, that gutted the Voting Rights Act, that Voting Rights Act was paid in blood. It was not just a parchment of paper signed into law. It was paid in blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, paid in blood by Medgar Evers, paid in blood by Fannie Lou Hamer. It's been paid in blood year over year, time after time, assassination after assassination, lynching after lynching, so that more people might be able to ascertain access to this constitutional democratic republic experiment that is currently being gutted and seeking to be gutted by this chamber, by this House, this Senate, and this state. What is happening here is immoral and wrong. And I was reading my Bible early this morning, asking God why this is happening. Why, again, does it seem that white supremacy is seeming to gain? Why, again, does it seem like the pillars of pain that we have felt and experienced for over 400 years in this country continue to rise again? And whispered in the words of this Bible and in the words of those ancestors that have gone before us is just these simple words: we're still here. we are still here. This nation, this state has legislated and legalized the worst things in humanity, including our enslavement, and we are still here. Right in this country where, as one black woman said, your ancestors enslaved us, denied us of our rights, called us 3/5 of a person, and yet we are still here. You put us on cotton plantations and tobacco plantations. You denied our human rights and our right to exist as children of God, and we are still here. You destroyed Tulsa. You killed and lynched black folks on poplar trees. Shelby County, Tennessee had the most lynchings of anywhere in this state where you're taking this district, and we are still here. You've had 3 strikes laws, mass incarceration, denied us of who we are, and we are still here. And today you'll take the only majority black district from us. But I want you to know, and I want my nephew, sons, and the future to know, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try and break us and make us bend and make us quit, we will still be here.
Zabor, this is how shameful they are. In addition to passing these maps, they've also removed a state requirement for election commissioners to tell voters when polling places have changed when new lines are redrawn.
Ooh, you know, that is that's so powerful is we're still here. We are still the people that have to stand up. We are still the people that are gonna have to really understand. I think we can't keep sitting on our hands and not doing nothing. That young man said so many powerful things that is just a call to action to everybody to know that this is a war. We can't sit here and not understand that everything is on the line. From being detained to just protesting to showing how such a young person can show up and showing how the history behind the city of Memphis and all of the things that make them who they are, we have to stand up. We have to be able to really come together and see that we got to get out and we got to vote. We have to show our power in these places where they think they are being able to steal the black vote. We got to energize and motivate our voters to be organized, to be at the community gatherings, and to just show up, to not allow them to destroy the history and the work that our ancestors have did for so long.
What this is about right now, it is a war, Cameron, and there's nothing else that we can say about this. And I'm telling you right now, every blue state, since Tennessee has done this here, must simply say, fine, we're going to wipe all Republican seats off the map. And that means the Senate president in Maryland needs to get off his ass and stop blocking what they should have done there.
Yes, it's unfortunate that we are here, but we can't play by a rule book that the other side literally doesn't even acknowledge exists. This isn't a time for us as people, for us as leaders, for the media, for everyone to call to task every single elected official. If we voted for you, and we're seeing what's happening all around the country and understanding that our power as Black folks, that our power as minorities, just our power as Americans is being taken and stripped away from us. And we voted a Democrat into governor. We voted someone into those state legislature seats, and they're not willing to fight back. We need to understand that, hey, you're on the menu too this fall, because this is something where we will look up and try to play the nice role we might have been trying to play by an old set of rules, and we will have no power. It won't just be Black folks. It'll be anybody who just believes in general democracy will not have power. So if you're not on their side, you're not going to have any representation. So this is an opportunity and a time where we must demand the most from everyone we put into office.
This is the coward, Maryland Senate President Bill Ferguson. And there were also some other senators who were cowards there as well. They refused to wipe out that seat. You had Governor Westmore. Guys, thank you. Can we please? You had Governor Westmore who said, hey, redraw the maps. And I'm sorry, Democrats are going to have to get some guts and be as ruthless as these damn Republicans are.
It's true. Bill Ferguson, I don't know a whole lot about him. I know his top campaign donors, if you look at Open Secrets, the top donor says NA to the tune of about $20,000. And right after that is MedStar. I don't know if this is the people who own him in terms of his donor base. I don't know that if he's just a soft white nationalist or because it's Baltimore City, of course, or it could very well be with that 7-1 majority. He thinks that a complete sweep would lead to a potential dummy mander. I mean, it could be some combination of the three. But one thing's for sure, the reason, as you say, the stupid, what appears on its face as stupid, the idea that you shift these precincts and don't tell people, has in fact been enshrined in current Supreme Court jurisprudence by the white nationalist majority on the Supreme Court in the 2021 Brnovich versus DNC case in Arizona, which, of course, as you remember and talked about at the time, the idea that if you show up at the wrong precinct, they give you a provisional ballot and they don't have to count it. This is what Alito, a purebred racist, and his little racist crew, John Roberts and others. John Roberts, of course, who has had a kind of almost erotic desire to overturn the idea of one person, one vote, had backed in the Brnovich case. So this is all part of a strategic plan. And that leads me to really the observation I want to make, as we heard a very moving testimony there by Representative Pearson. That type of energy has to be supported, has to be surrounded by, has to in fact be led by some very strategic and necessary, as Representative Jones said, coordinated effort. This is a war, but one side not only has people, they have a military intelligence division, they have a coordinated effort. The other side has feeling, emotion, some trying to attempt to generate some data, but it's not coordinated. So that Brnovich decision from 2021, absolutely. If you don't understand how ALEC works, if you don't understand how these donor-based billionaire think tanks work, then you don't know that they are all coordinated. So what's going on in Tennessee has already been vetted, gamed out, everything from the federal government down. It isn't just Project 2025. That little nasty racist piece of work, Russell Vogt, is never stopped working, and they're all coordinated. You can't beat them with an appeal to emotion in a speech. It's necessary to generate enthusiasm and support, but we need the NAACP, we need Black Futures Lab, we need everybody to coordinate efforts, and then we need them to come to the Black Star Network and help people understand in translatable action how this coordinated effort must now translate into action. Otherwise, those speeches get us amped, and then we go and turn on the game to see whether Victor Wembanyama can win his first chip. We got to stop that, but it's going to require us getting our coordinated intelligence game together in this war, because appeals to emotion leave us exhausted at the end of the day, and while they're important, they are not sufficient when you don't have a plan.
And Greg, then we've got this idiot, Chief Justice John Roberts, who does an interview saying that the Supreme Court is not political. And he says Supreme Court justices are not political actors. And I think at a very basic level, people think we're making policy decisions. We're saying we think this is how things should be as opposed to what the law provides. I think they view us as purely political actors, which I don't think is an accurate understanding of what we do. He's full of shit. They absolutely are political actors. Just last week, Clarence Thomas complained about in RIP progressives. Samuel Alito was flying flags linked to January 6 folks. You damn right they are political actors. And Roberts, from when he was working in the DOJ, he wanted to destroy the Voting Rights Act, and he now has gotten his wish. Chief Justice John Roberts should shut the fuck up.
Well, let me say this very quickly. I like it, and I'll tell you why. These are not men. These are cowards. Sam Alito had, as you said, that upside-down distress flag flying, and when pressed about it, this piece of a man took both hands, grabbed his racist wife by the collar, and threw her under the bus. These are not men. John Roberts cannot be honest. There's a couple of new books out. Actually, one of them on Sam Alito is called Revenge for the 60s. They've traced Sam Alito to the time he was born in Trenton, New Jersey. He's been a racist since he was a little boy. But when pressed, as we saw this week, with the order expediting what is usually a month-long process of returning a case to the lower courts, they accelerated this week, and Ketanji Onyeka Brown-Jackson came for him in her objections, and he snapped back at her. You see, what happens when you call a racist out is they lose the veneer and they drop down to their reality. I want John Roberts to keep doing that, and here's our response. It has to be the response that you just gave. Mr. Roberts, sir, Chief Justice Roberts, you are a purebred liar, and you're a piece of a man, because you can't say with your full chest the desire of your whole heart. Since you were helping your mentor, Justice Rehnquist, go and harass voters in Arizona, since you ran down there to Florida during Bush versus Gore as a counsel to steal that state and give your Lord and Master George W. Bush the presidency, and in return, he gave you the Chief Justice. You are a piece of a man. And so when you continue to talk that way, call a thing, they drop all the pretenses. I love when John Roberts does that, because he's a little nervous now because they've caught the car. And as we said, listen, man, when Representative Parkinson says secession, does that sound familiar? That almost sounds like South Carolina in the 1860s. There is going to be a civil war in this country, except it doesn't have to be a shooting war. What have you said, Roland? If we vote our numbers, we win. And in those moments when somebody says something like that, we say, excuse me, sir, could you say it with your full chest? Otherwise, I'm going to say not only are you a liar, you're a piece of a man. Let's just continue. Keep talking like that. I love it.
See, Cameron, this is what I need people to understand. You got some U.S. Senate races taking place this year. Maine, Iowa, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Texas, Alaska, Kentucky, South Dakota. And Democrats could take control of the Senate. Now, they don't need 51, they need 53. Because you know Fetterman is going to support Republicans. And here's my whole point. If Alito and Thomas do not retire between now and the election, or now between now and then when the new Senate is sworn in, I'm telling you right now, if anything happens to any Supreme Court justice, Democrats should say, we ain't doing a damn thing until the next election. They should say, that's what y'all did with McConnell when Obama picked Merrick Garland. We're going to do the same thing. So to all the folks who are voting, this is why you got to have a mass turnout, because if you keep the Senate from the Republicans, that means they cannot appoint any more Supreme Court justices unless Democrats approve.
That's right.
Exactly. And the other thing that was there is how they rammed that last one right before Biden took office, even after knowing that Trump had already lost the election. So again, this goes back to them. They're not playing by any rule book that we seem to still be beholden to. I do understand the idea is that this should not be a full race to the bottom, but unfortunately, when Michelle Obama said they go high, when they go low, we should go high. We are going to have to go lower.
No, Cameron. This is not a race to the bottom. This is a race to 218. Mm-hmm. It is not a race to the bottom. This is about power. This means, how do you get to 218? And however you need to get to 218, you get to 218. So we got to stop saying that, oh my God, this gerrymandering stuff. Again, look, that ship has sailed. They have made it clear. They want to cement a Republican majority. They want as many Republican House members as possible. This is about stopping them.
You're right. And I think the Senate is our best play. I think the fact that they think they're just going to win the Senate, and we don't realize, like, we need to make sure we're educating voters and let them know that no matter what's going on with this redistricting, we still have the power to win these seats. We need to be overly investing, and this is me speaking to the donor class. This is me speaking to grassroots fundraisers. This is me speaking to those like, hey, if there's no Senate election in your state, you need to know can I drive down to Mississippi, Kentucky, South Dakota? Can I get over to some of these, North Carolina? Can I get to these states in Georgia to ensure that can I get up to Maine?
Yep.
We need to get up there and even put our hand and knock on these doors, make sure people turn out and consistently make sure we're fully registered in all of these various states, because you know what they're also trying to do is suppress our vote, kick as many of us off the rolls as possible. Anything they can do to lie, steal, and cheat their way to these to hopefully win. But to your point, yes, this is about 218. This is about getting to 53 in the U.S. Senate.
Zabor?
Definitely. At this stage in the game, we have to think about how these things are impacting our regular people. We need to make sure that we are getting on the ground. We need to listen to our young Democrats in these communities that are already on the ground. Too many times when we are working at voting polls and trying to work these elections, they're not listening to the people that are in these communities. You can't keep doing it the way you've did it in the past. You can't keep listening to these individuals that are in Democratic parties that are really upholding white supremacy standards just like the Republicans. We need to get our people in position so that we can have the votes. This is late stage capitalism, and they are worried about the money. Like, we need to hit them where it hurt. Make sure our economic power is being enforced, our voting power is being enforced, and our voices are not silent. We can't just keep acting like that Supreme Court is stacked against everyone's human rights. It's political. It's no way that you can't say it's not in alignment with a political party. Everything about that Supreme Court and the decisions that they're making and how they're impacting women's rights, Black American rights, immigrant rights, and our national security. America is looking like a joke internationally. We got to do something. We got to hold these people accountable. And I watched firsthand during the Kamala Harris campaign being actively involved, and they are not listening to people that are working these elections during primaries on what to do. You're not going into the communities that will vote. You have millennials, we're in our 40s. We are ready to do something different. And half the people are the people that would have just got on the bus and stayed on the bus during the Rosa Parks era because they're too comfortable with their comforts.
Well, it's real simple. This is no time for anybody being comfortable. I got to go to a break. We come back. We've been talking about the Georgia Supreme Court race, y'all. The primary in Georgia is May 19th, but the Supreme Court race, that's not the primary. That's for all the marbles. We'll talk to one of the candidates running there next, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
I'm Brittany Noble, Midwest-born, HBCU educated with experience in newsrooms across the country. Well, I've teamed up with Roland Martin to bring to you The Breakdown. This isn't just news. It's our stories, our voice, our community. Join me for The Breakdown, Monday through Friday at midday, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, I'm TD Jakes, and you are watching the Black Star Network.
A couple days ago, Isaac Hayes III posted this on social media. He talked about Georgia. He said eligible Black Georgians did not vote. 2018, in the governor's race, it was decided by 54,723 votes. In 2022, the governor's race was decided by 191,581 votes. That means anywhere from 900,000 to 1.1 million African Americans did not vote in Georgia. Now, why is that important? Because 3 state Supreme Court seats are up for re-election on May 19th. 2 of the races are contested. Earlier this week, I talked to Miracle Rankin, the former president of the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, who's running against sitting Justice Charlie Bethel. In the other contested race, former state senator Jen Jordan is running against incumbent Justice Sarah Hawkins Warren. Now, an incumbent has not lost a race in 100 years. Now, you may say, why? Well, because Georgia has this weird quirk that if a Supreme Court justice resigns, the election is canceled. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And so Jen joins us right now. Jen, glad to have you here. I wanted to show that graphic right there because I've been laying out this GOP war with Black America. I've been talking about the targeting of Black voters. We see what's happening with congressional seats, and they're going to go for state senate, state rep, county commissioner, all the way down. And the reality is, look, you want to appeal to all voters, but if there's a massive Black turnout come May 19th, we saw with the Public Service Commission where 2 Democrats won. That means that you and Miracle, y'all win.
Absolutely. And to be quite frank, we have seen that. It's been unprecedented to this point, I have to tell you. Each day I check the numbers, it's been 34 to 35% Black voter turnout. And Democrats as a whole have been running about 10% over Republican turnout. And usually it's the opposite. So usually Democrats are about 45% and then Republicans are about 55%. So right now we have just been crushing it. And it is because of Black voter turnout and people really understanding what's at stake in this election. And I think obviously the Supreme Court has helped us, unfortunately, by their decision in the Calif case last week, when they basically just gutted the Voting Rights Act that is going to impact every single voter in the state, but more significantly, every Black voter in the state.
And I want to stay right there because you said the Supreme Court decision, and I have been yelling and screaming for more than 20 years that people need to understand that there are state Supreme Courts. And the reality is that state Supreme Courts can also stop a lot of this crazy stuff that is happening because they have the final authority. The federal Supreme Court does not rule on everything. There's a thing called states' rights. And so when you have a more progressive state Supreme Court, we saw just what happened in Wisconsin. It's now 5-2. Granted, they're partisan. North Carolina, they're partisan. Georgia, nonpartisan. But the reality is it has been a largely a conservative Supreme Court in Georgia issuing those rulings. Y'all two win, you begin to change the balance of power on the state Supreme Court.
Absolutely. So look, and in Wisconsin, you know, and I'll correct you, it's actually a nonpartisan race just like Georgia. And they have it in the spring too. So
yeah, now I remember it was
right.
I'm sorry. I meant to do this here. I meant to say it was. I meant to do this here. It was nonpartisan, but it was clear where the money was, who they were appealing to in that particular state. Go ahead.
No, but that's what we're trying to do here too, to be quite frank, because for so long people have not challenged the incumbents. Everybody's been like, oh, well, we're just going to act like we're impartial and look, we're so fair and don't worry about it. But the issues are too important. And right now with the U.S. Supreme Court basically gutting fundamental rights left and right, and those decisions now coming back down to the state Supreme Courts, and in particular in Georgia, whether you're talking about the fundamental rights with respect to do women have autonomy over their bodies, whether you're talking about voting rights, right? And election challenges, all of that is going to go up to the state Supreme Court. And so, we used to run to the federal courts to protect our rights, especially in the southern states, right? That was where we could go. We cannot go there anymore. And so now it is so incredibly important for people to understand that who sits on these state Supreme Courts really are going to impact their everyday lives, what the state looks like, and what rights that they're actually going to be able to enjoy now and going forward.
A lot of folks, when we talk about Georgia, they spend so much time there in Atlanta. Totally understand Fulton County. But how much time have you been spending in Albany, in Jonesboro, in Savannah, in other parts? Because rural Georgia, if you look at the numbers, the way Republicans have won in Georgia, they ran up huge majorities in rural Georgia and all those little small counties that offset what was happening in Fulton County, in Gwinnett County, and those places. And so what has been your strategy as you have been traveling around the state trying to get folk to vote?
Look, I'm originally from South Georgia. I've lived in Albany. I've lived pretty much everywhere around the state. And in terms of the areas of Georgia where they tend to be a lot more Republican, my strategy has always been to lose less in those places. So you go to those communities, you talk to people, right? Because that's what we've been missing. It's if folks are just turning into Fox News or whatever, they get a really skewed view of politics, of people's positions, of what's actually happening in the real world. So a lot of times you go into these communities that you know you're not going to win, but by God, you can lose less. And that's what you do. You add up all of that in terms of losing less, and then you go into the communities that actually support you. You talk to people, you let them know what your values are and what you care about, and then you try to run the table there. And then, you know, when you're talking about a 50-50 state, that is so incredibly important. You can't leave anybody out of the conversation, but you have to be realistic about, you know, who shares your values, but also you have to be realistic about the communities that you can go into and maybe just pick a few people off.
Obviously, Supreme Court justices rule on cases that come before them. So it's a little hard to sort of lay out what a vision is for someone getting elected. What are you telling voters, especially black voters, why they should vote for you for the Supreme Court?
So it is hard because we're not supposed to talk about anything that would be construed as prejudging a case. But what I'd like to do is I like to point folks to my legal career. For 25 years, I've represented individuals. I've sued the state a number of times, and including the current governor. I've sued the Georgia Department of Corrections. You know, when there's overreach and they hurt people, then they need to be called on the carpet, right? And that's what I've done in my career. And then as a state senator, I've really, you know, I've been in the fight for a while. But, you know, I try to point to kind of past, but also to talk about what my values are, because I may not be able to tell you how I'm going to rule on something, but I can tell you that I believe that women have a fundamental right to make decisions about their body. I have a core belief in terms of voting rights, in that anyone who is legally able to cast a ballot should be able to. And so when you talk about that with folks and tell them what your personal beliefs are, understanding that that's not about prejudging a case, then they get a better sense of who you are and what kind of justice you're going to be on the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. So early voting is happening right now.
The 15th.
Ends May 15th.
That's right. It's going. And look, turnout's been incredible. Like I said, I check it every day. We're killing it every day, but we have got to keep that up. And we have to, you know, I was outside of UPS facility today greeting workers coming in, you know, when they were going on shift and coming off shift, and just trying to talk to everybody about just how important this election is. And I had a few folks tell me that, you know, I just don't vote. And I'm like, you can't do that. It is so incredibly important, especially when the margins, you know, they're going to be so close that it is going to make a difference in this election if people get out and actually vote.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Jean Jordan, folks, this is how you can reach her. Pull the graphic up, please. Pull the graphic up. Thank you. Nope. The graphic how to reach her. The graphic how to reach her. It's right there in your graphic box. No, that's my iPad. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. That's how you can reach her. My God. All right. So Facebook, Instagram, and for the website, now come to my iPad now. This is her website. Folks, go to the website, JEN4Georgia.com. Folks, I'm telling you, Supreme Court races are critically important, and I need black folks. I do not want 50, 55, 60% turnout. It needs to be 70, 80, 90. I keep saying overwhelm the ballot box. That's what we must do. Jen, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
All right, good luck. Let's go back to my panel here. We cannot express enough, I'll start with you, Greg, that people have got to understand. They got to understand Supreme Court races. We just can't act, it's no big deal. These are the folks who are the final arbiters of the law in the state. We are seeing on the federal level what happens when you get those type of justices. Georgia, black folks in Georgia should be crashing the polls.
Absolutely. And this is the beautiful thing about it. This isn't a democracy. I wish we would stop saying that. Because I think when we say that, we mean something different. If you look at the history of the word democracy, going all the way back to the Greeks, you will find that it's not as useful a term as people, I think it is. But what we're really talking about is what you said earlier, Roland. We're talking about power. How do we get to 218, as you said, when you talk about the federal legislature? And in the case of the states, the state constitutions are the authority that white nationalists seize on when it's to their benefit. And when it's not to their benefit, they switch to the federal courts. And in Georgia is absolutely a test case in this. We know that it was the Georgia Supreme Court, I think it was a 6-3 ruling, that backed blocking the ability of the state to go after Bozo, Donald John Trump, for his white nationalist attempt to overthrow the results of the 2020 election in Georgia. We know that. This goes back and forth. I bring this up for this reason. We've seen that Eric Holder and the Democracy Defenders Program, part of the Redistricting Commission, has endorsed these candidates, Rankin and Jordan. We see that those who want to enshrine or to reinforce a woman's right to choose what to do with her body have endorsed them as well. But as you said, and this is the key, as you said, it isn't a quirk in the Georgia state law. It is an absolute white nationalist failsafe to say that if a judge resigns, then the election is canceled or suspended. And guess what happens then? The seat does not go vacant. The governor gets to replace the person. So what they've said is, if you Negroes do show up and vote, we will then resign and say that the governor can appoint an replacement. We've seen this. Justice Keith Blackwell announced in February, it was 2021, that he would resign in November, weeks before his term was due to end. He was supposed to face 2 challengers in the May primary, but when he announced his plans to step down 5 months after voters were set to weigh in, state officials said the election should be postponed until 2022. Blackwell begged the governor to appoint his replacement, and when the governor Kemp wouldn't do it, December 2024, Blackwell killed himself. See, this is the high stakes we're talking about right now. So this is what it comes down to. You got to show up and vote. If they try that resign and appoint thing, then you got to trigger the third of the 3 branches of government. You got to get the lawyers lined up. And by the way, both Rankin and Jordan have sued to keep sealed an inquiry at the Judicial Qualifications Committee in Georgia. It's unclear why, because the records are sealed, but we do know that that quote-unquote ethics investigation committee in the past has been up to some hijinks with candidates that ostensibly they wouldn't like as white nationalists. But you got to vote to trigger the other chicanery so that the lawyers have to get off the bench. And then, of course, the governor of Georgia, we're coming for you, baby, because governors, senators, all those statewide offices, as we saw the Public Utilities Commission, they are not gerrymandered. The governor might get off the bench. I really do think, Roland, that what they are doing at this juncture, in this desperation, they are pushing this to a point where people will get out and vote, if for no other reason than people generally don't like, unless you're a white nationalist, they don't like the question of being unfair. And this Georgia Supreme Court election is pivotal. I think, do you know, I think it's 8 of 9 on the current court are selected by white nationalist voters or governor appointments. So these 2 seats won't flip it, but it'll get it closer to being flipped.
Absolutely. I'm going to have that for you. Zipporah, go ahead.
We know that the Supreme Court is super important when you look at disparities and how the judges may not write the laws, but they decide how those laws really affect real people. If those disparities are documented of ignoring them and the judicial interpretation really it don't make them disappear, but it really preserves those things. So we have to make sure that we're getting out and voting. Like, people already don't trust the criminal justice system. So we know that Black and brown individuals are getting convicted way higher. So by us not getting out and vote, we are really making those disparities increase. It's our responsibility to get out, vote for people that we can at least try to, like you said, even that balance to where we can bring it up and have more people on the Supreme Court that could represent decisions that really are beneficial to us and that are reducing some of those disparities. We can't change the laws without having the right people in place. And we can't have the right people in place without our people that are registered to vote. 1.1 million of you did not vote. You got to get out there and vote. You got to get out there and understand that these courts are being stacked. They're playing dirty games, using tricky words, tricky things just to get the right people in place so that your rights are study trampled over, study not being upheld the way they should be. So we got to get out and vote. We got to educate people, and we got to understand that these Supreme Court justices, we wouldn't be in the position that we are in if we had more Supreme Court justices because people got out and voted in the primaries.
And to Greg's points, yes, 8 of the 9 Supreme Court justices were appointed by a Republican governor. That's how they've been able to control, because they do not want elections. Cameron.
Yeah, this is also about, for this election, especially in Georgia, where there's going to be top of the ticket governor's race, there's an attorney general's race, the Senate, and so forth. We can't let people just say, oh, I only care about the governor, maybe U.S. Senate, but they need to be voting down ballot. And one thing you hear often when we're on the ground is like, oh, it's no same, one difference or the other. We need to fight back against that ignorance. We need to fight back against that. Like, I'm not here to say the Democratic Party is perfect, but there is a clear differentiation between one party that is literally trying to take us back to Jim Crow and beyond, one party that is clearly trying to disenfranchise, one party that is doing everything it can to kick people off the rolls, and one party that at least is giving some lip service and giving some focus to try to at least represent us and represent people in the right way. So I think we have a fight against us. And I love the fact that, again, Roland, we're calling out, we need high Black voter turnout, especially in a state like Georgia. Definitely we need to juice those numbers in Metro Atlanta, but in the Macons, in the Columbuses, in the Savannahs, all throughout, Black voters everywhere would need to come out. And the biggest thing also, in addition to knowing your status and really checking to make sure you're still on the rolls and make sure you're still registered, we can't be intimidated by the ICE and all the other tactics that we know they're going to pull out, all the tricks they're going to pull out to try to intimidate us. Like, this is something that is going to look akin to the 60s and 50s and so forth, where they're going to try to set up in intimidation tactics throughout the country. So this is something where voting is our last choice. It's our last choice. And we have to impress that upon every single person. Every single person. I don't care what the excuse is.
Well, I think it's nuts when somebody says, "Oh, I don't vote," because guess what? Politics is doing you. Folks, this news dropped yesterday. Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles, 6 months after she won re-election, says she's going to resign in June. She'll be resigning on June 30th. She did not give a reason. She's the city's second longest mayor. She won a 5th term in November. Not sure why. She's 73 years old. Not sure if it's about health. According to this story here, Lyles has only attended 2 city council zoning meetings in the last 18 months. And so some people have questioned what's going on. Again, her resignation will be effective on June 30th. And so longtime Charlotte Mayor longtime Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles resigning as mayor, and of course be effective on June 30th. Time for Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble.
An Atlanta judge says the Justice Department can keep election ballots from the 2020 election that were seized during an FBI search in January. Wednesday's ruling represents a rare victory for President Donald Trump's administration, which is pursuing claims of widespread voter fraud, despite those claims being widely discredited. Judge J.P. Booley rejected Fulton County's request for the return of the original copies of the seized materials. As a result of this ruling, the FBI will keep more than 600 boxes of 2020 ballots while it investigates whether election records were improperly retained or if residents of Fulton County, which includes most of Atlanta, were denied a fair election. Lawyers for Fulton County argued that the FBI's search of the county's election hub was based on faulty and discredited evidence and violated constitutional protections. In Northeast Houston, residents say bulldozers are tearing through what they believe is the final resting place of 30 to 40 black souls, many believed to be connected to formerly enslaved people who came from Virginia. This month, bulldozers have been clearing land in the Rosewood Estates area. That's now the Glenwood Manor subdivision. And some graves reportedly included above-ground vaults. And over the years, the trees and heavy overgrowth covered parts of that cemetery. The land was later listed and marketed as vacant commercial property, a move that advocates say ignored the very reality that this was sacred ground. Historic black cemeteries were often unrecorded or ignored, leading to the development over the sites. And community activist groups such as Project Respect work to restore and protect sites like this. A new study reveals that ethnic studies courses can significantly enhance student success, particularly for Black and Latino students. Published in the American Educational Research Journal, the research followed over 24,000 students in the San Francisco Unified School District from 2008 to 2023. It was titled Cultural Relevance at Scale, the Effects of an Ethnic Studies Expansion on Academic Outcomes. And this study investigated the effects of expanding ethnic studies courses throughout the district by examining grades, course completion rates, and then also college readiness. So researchers discovered that students who enrolled in ethnic studies classes achieved higher GPAs, were less likely to fail courses, and demonstrated greater overall academic engagement. Additionally, there was a 27% reduction in course failures and a 15% increase in the number of students meeting the GPA requirement for admission to the University of California system. The most significant improvements were among Black and Latino students, male students, and also those who had previously faced academic challenges. Well, no Black woman has ever held a majority ownership stake in the Major League Baseball franchise, but that could soon change because Kwanzaa Jones, an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and singer, is reportedly working to finalize a nearly $4 billion deal to purchase the San Diego Padres. Last weekend, the family of the late Padres owner, Peter Sedler, announced that they had reached an agreement to sell the team to an investor group led by Jones and her husband, Jose Feliciano, who is a co-founder of the private equity firm Clear Lake Capital. If the deal is approved, Jones would make history as the first Black woman to hold a majority ownership stake in the MLB franchise. And additionally, her husband would be the first majority owner of Puerto Rican descent for the league. The deal still requires approval from 30 Major League Baseball owners during the league's regularly scheduled meeting. That will be in June. It will also need to undergo review by the Security and Exchange Commission and receive sign-off from the city of San Diego. We'll keep you posted. Well, the United States and Iran appear to be moving towards a short-term agreement to end the ongoing conflict. Iranian officials have stated that they are considering a 14-point proposal put forth by the U.S. to end the fighting. President Donald Trump has warned Iran of increased bombings if a deal is not reached, and that includes the reopening of the crucial Strait of Hormuz to international shipping. As many are aware, the two-month conflict has led to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a vital oil route affecting global markets. And on Wednesday, the U.S. military fired upon an Iranian oil tanker that was trying to breach the American blockade of the Iran's ports. Well, Trump said on social media that the war could soon end and that the oil and natural gas shipments could resume. But still, he emphasized that this is contingent upon Iran accepting an agreement, and he did not specify any details about that agreement. Roland?
All right, folks, if you want to catch out the breakdown with Brittany Noble every day, watch noon Eastern right here on the Black Star Network. Noon Eastern every day, the breakdown with Brittany Noble. Let me thank Sabora, Cameron, and Greg for being on today's panel. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, tomorrow I'll be broadcasting from Houston, where I'll be at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll be presenting 4 of my scholarships, my annual scholarships at Jack Yates High School, my alma mater. And so 2 will be for communication students and 2 will be for the non-communication side. So look forward to being there. So I'll be there. Then, of course, I have to go to Satanville on Saturday. My niece has graduated from the University of Texas Law School. So I will be there, y'all know. And yes, I plan on wearing a maroon. I would be wearing something maroon to the graduation, so I guarantee you that is going to happen. So y'all know how I feel about. Austin was my first place where I worked out of college, and it was always great because Texas A&M was kicking the Longhorns' ass, and so it was a joyous occasion for me. So I'll be there for her law school graduation on Saturday. All right, y'all. Be sure to do this here. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Listen, we're out here doing the work, talking about this war, the GOP war on Black America, empowering people, educating people. And listen, I'm telling you right now, it ain't even a conversation. There's nobody else in Black-owned media doing what we're doing. I know a bunch of y'all was sitting here posting clips of Rachel Maddow, who all of a sudden folks talked about the impact on Black folks. And I'm sitting there going, even Rachel Maddow ain't doing what we're doing with the number of guests that we have talking about what's happening on the ground. So this is why Black-owned media matters. This is why we can't get so caught up in being so happy when mainstream media decides to cover Black people, because we cover Black people every day. 365, 7 days a week. So support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. We're at $47,000. Let's get to 50,000. Let's get higher than that. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here. It's also for credit cards, checks, and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 571996, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. I know y'all, I see y'all, some of y'all saying, oh, no, Roland, Rachel, good people. I didn't say she wasn't good people. What I said was she is not covering the GOP's war on Black America as in-depth as we are. We've been doing it every single day. We didn't do it one night. Check yourself. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, do me a favor, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com for our t-shirts, our hoodies, wall art, mugs, you name it, we got it. Also, support the Black-owned businesses that we have on our marketplace. Every product that you see on this table in our studio, these are Black-owned companies. And so they've got dresses, we've got stuff for folk who work in the medical field, dolls, crossword puzzles, backpacks, skin care for men, for women. We've got watches, jewelry, you name it. Just go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, go to our marketplace, and you can peruse all of these products. And again, these are all Black-owned companies. We keep talking about Buy Black. We make it a lot easy for y'all to do so. So go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Download the app fan base. Follow me at Roland S. Martin. Listen, right wings owning social media. We got to be owning our own media as well. So download the app fan base. And of course, that's it. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.